In this video, we're going to do 10.01 update bus. All right, so I have the file. Now let it open up in Racket. So let's go over it. So problem A, finish the uncompleted steps X of data design above for driver and bus. So description and interpretation is done. We have to do 1P, 3, and 4. So you have a driver and bus structs here. So let's just go over the data definitions for driver first. All right, so define struct driver has a name. That's the name of the driver. And route is a number. Route is the route number the driver knows how to drive. All right. So try to do 1B, 3, and 4 for the define struct driver. All right. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right. So I'm going to assume that you took a good swing in it. So now let's go over it together. All right. So if using define struct, to write all the access signatures. So driver dash name consumes a driver and produces a string, and driver dash route consumes a driver and produces a number. All right, so there we go. Easy peasy for the signatures. Now comes the data examples. All right, so we'll define Bob is going to be make driver. His name is Bob, and he knows how to drive route 1. Still another one, Alice is a make driver, and Alice also knows how to drive route 1. Do one last one for good measure. Jack is his name. It's the name of the driver, and we'll say he knows how to drive 66. Okay, so those are good enough examples, like so. All right. So now is a function template that processes this data. So define driver dash temp consumes a driver. Let's name the input variable DVR, okay? Likewise, we should write the signature for it. So driver dash temp is going to be a function that consumes a driver. Don't know what it'll produce yet because we are just scaffolding the foundation here. All right, so we'd likely want to take apart the driver. So driver dash name of the input driver and driver dash route of the given driver. Okie dokie. So that is the function template done. Easy peasy. So now let's review the next one. So for the next data definition, it is going to be bus, right? So define struct bus has the number of seats and the driver. Okay. So seats is how many passengers we can seat, and driver is the one who is driving the bus. It is a reference to the driver structure above. Anywho, try to do 1B, 3, and 4 for define struct bus. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm going to assume that you took a good swing at it. So now let's go over it together. So we need to write the access signatures. Bus dash seats is going to assume a bus and spit out how many seats. Right, number. There are bus dash driver is consume a bus and gives information about the driver. So produce that. So that is that done. Easy peasy. Next are the data examples. So let's come up with some buses. So define bus R1, make bus, and then we'll say, the seats is, there are 20 seats, say 10 seats, and Bob is driving this. All right. Find bus R2, well, R66, route 66, right? So make bus, we'll say 20 seats this time, and Jack is the one driving this, all right? Notice that I'm naming the variable bus dash route 66, but the bus doesn't have a route field, right? Only the people do, okay? So don't get confused about that. I'm just doing a better naming scheme here to give more information like so. If I change the drivers, it's going to be out of date though. But anywho, those are enough examples. Let's move on to a function template that processes this data. So bus dash temp consumes a bus, and we don't know what it'll produce yet. And bus dash temp, what should we name this input variable? Let's name it BS, all right? And then likewise, we likely want to take it apart, this bus. Bus dash route, no, not route, I mean bus seats, all right, bad, the given bus, and then bus driver of the given bus. Likewise, this is a reference to a driver. So always remember that if structs contain structs, the template should reflect that, right? We should call the helper function driver-temp to handle this in case. Okay, so that is that step done. Easy peasy. All right, so now let's move on to the problem B. So I'm going to scroll down here and look at problem B. It says at the end of a bus driver's route, they switch with another driver who knows how to drive that same route, right? All right. So design a function update bus, which only replaces its driver if the given driver can drive the same route. And they gave us the signature. All right. So pause the video and try to work through the designing process for functions on update bus. I'll go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm going to assume that you guys took a good swing at it. So now let's go over it together. So that is the signature. Next is the purpose. So we're going to say replace the driver on the bus with a new driver only if they can drive the same route. Okay. Signature purpose stub. Let's stub this out. So define update-bus takes in 2 arguments. So psdvr. And then we'll spit out a bus, the same bus that gets passed in as a W value for the stub. Signature purpose stub examples. So let's come up with a few. Check expect update bus. We have a bus up here, bus R1, right? And Bob is on that bus. Bus-R1. Okay. So can Bob swap positions with Alice, right? What route does Alice drive? Alice is also able to drive route 1. So this should produce a bus with the same seats, right? So that's 10 over here, right? But this time the driver can be swapped, right? So Bob, you can take a break now. You've been driving for a few hours. So Alice, like so. Let's do another example. So check expect update bus. What happens if Jack, right? Jack tries to drive bus R1, right? So Jack, his route is 66, right? And he can't replace Alice because he doesn't know how to drive that route. So make bus. So the bus is going to be the same, 10 seats, and Alice is still going to be in this seat, right? Actually, Bob, because right now, bus R1, Bob is in that seat. And Jack tried to replace Bob, but he can't. All right, like so. All right, let's do a few more examples for good measure. Check expect, update, bus. What about bus R66? Right, what if, so Jack is currently driving bus route 66, right? And what happens if Alice tries to drive that, right? Well, you can't, Alice, because you don't know how to drive that route. So the, what is this? The seats stays the same, and then check is here. All right, one more for good measure. So what happens if we try to replace Jack, right? Jack is, we're trying to update the bus with Jack while Jack is the driver. It's kind of nonsensical, but nonetheless, right? Well, it should be the same, right? Okay, so that's signature purpose stub. Next are some examples. We just did that next to the template from data. So is there a template that consumes a bus? Yes, there is. Let's copy it down. Before we do that, let's run our stub against the test. We should just get mismatches, right? So make bus 10, make driver Bob 1 differs from this. So Alice did not replace Bob in this one example. Okay. So let's just do that. And we'll paste down our template here, rename it, update bus. Takes in 2 arguments. So like so. Gotta follow the signature. So DVR, comment out the stub. Okay. So I've marked myself done for all those steps. So you guys can see where we are at. So signature, purpose stub, examples, template, And now it's time to code the body. So now really pause the video. Hopefully this should be all the mental scaffolding needed to solve the problem. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. Alright, so I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it, so let's go over it together. So update bus consumes a bus and a driver and produces a bus. So just by looking at the signature, we know that we have to spit out a bus to produce a bus, and the only way we can do that is with make bus. So that fills in that spot, right? Do we do anything with the seats here? Not really, right? The seats stay the same. It doesn't matter when we update the driver. All right. What about this one? This last here, driver temp. Well, what do we want this function to do? If we read it, replace the driver on the bus with a new driver only if they can drive on the same route, right? So what we can do is name this decide driver, all right? And we're going to give it the current bus driver and then the driver that we're getting passed into in DVR, all right? That's the one that we want to update to. So it reads pretty nicely, right? We're going to update the bus such that we're going to decide the driver and the same seats are there. And decide driver is going to handle this case. So let's write the signature for that. So decide dash driver is going to consume 2 drivers, and then it's going to produce a driver, all right? Because it's going to pick between these two, all right? So that's signature for driver. Pause the video and try to do the function steps for decide driver. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, I'm assuming that you took a good swing at it, so let's go over it together. Okay, so what should we do with this decide driver function? What is the purpose? Well, it should produce the second driver if the routes of both drivers are the same, all right? So in case instead of second, we'll do the new driver, all right? And then we'll have our functions be named like so. Signature, purpose, next is the stub. So stub this out, define decide driver. So we can call it old and new. We can call it D1 and D2, but this is more descriptive, all right? And it has to produce a driver at the end of the day, so let's just spit either of the one back out. It's because we got to write some tests for these. So check, expect, decide driver. All right, so Alice and Bob, right? So what should this produce? Well, according to the purpose, we should produce the new driver, which is the second given driver. So I'm going to write that back in. Right. Second given driver if the routes of both drivers are the same. And they are the same, right? Alice is at route 1 and Bob is at route 1. So this should produce Bob. And if we swap the order of these, right? This time Alice is second and Bob is first. Then we want to reduce Alice. Let's do one with Jack. So check expect decide driver, which we want to replace Bob with Jack. That's not even going to be possible, right? Because they don't share the same route, right? So it actually should be Bob, right? Because Jack is at route 66 and Bob is at route 1. So their routes aren't the same, so we should just not, produce the second given driver. We should produce the first given driver. And this one, in this case, is Bob. Okie dokie. So that seems like a good amount of tests. So I'm going to run this code against the stub. We get some mismatches, that's fine. So now, let us mark ourselves done for all the steps. Signature purpose stub done. Examples are done. Template, let's grab a template. Anything that takes a driver. Do we have starter code that does that? Yes, we do. It's driver-temp. Kind of spit it down here. Decide driver. Takes in 2 drivers this time. Hold that new. Coming out the stub. Okay. And that is that step done. Now is for the hardest part, code body. All right, so try to do step 4 on your own. Hopefully this should be all the mental scaffolding needed to solve the problem. I'm going to go over spoilers in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so I'm assuming that you guys took a good swing at it. So let's go over it together. So code body. So decide driver, looking at all that we did to scaffold the problem. The driver name is not really relevant, right? What we need to do is that we do need to take the old and the new one of the route though. So old and new, old and new. We gotta do comparisons with the route. So reduce the second given driver if the routes are the same, right? So we need an if here, and we have the two routes, right? So we need to compare them. Those routes are numbers, so we had to do equals, right? So if the two routes are the same, then we're going to reduce the second given driver via the purpose statement. That's what it says, right? Produce the new one, otherwise the old one, like so. All right, and that should pass all our tests. And if I push this down, all 7 tests pass. So let us check all our cells done for these. All right. So now let's just hand it in to the hand in. We're going to select the right slot, update dash bus, hand it in, check your score, and make sure that you pass the greater side test like so. Okay. That is about it for this one, and I will catch you in the next one.